Hey everyone, so we had some pretty troubling news this week regarding the Trump administration and Iran. So I'm going to play this clip for you guys, and then I'm going to kind of put it in context and give my opinions on it, basically.
We don't want their gunboats surrounding our boats and traveling around our boats and having a good time. We don't want them anywhere near our boats. And so you know the order I gave. I don't think I have to say it again, but I've given that order. Under the Obama administration, it was taking place all the time. Under my administration, I gave this order early on, and nothing happened. They were very nice. There was no problem. But then I noticed yesterday they did that in a much lighter form, but they did that again. I said we're not gonna stand for it. So if they do that, that's putting our ships at danger and our great crews and sailors in danger. I'm not going to let that happen, and we will. They'll shoot them out of the water.
All right, and so here is the tweet that Donald Trump set out that kind of prompted this discussion. I have instructed the United States Navy to shoot down and destroy any and all Iranian gunboats if they harass our ships at sea. And so first, so what this is referencing is there are some United States Navy ships, extreme in basically Iranian territory in their waters. And I guess recently the Iranian their navy has their ships have been coming pretty close to the United States ships, in what I would say is fair to say a threatening way. And you could argue that this is just kind of to kind of claim their turf, kind of like ward off like where the United States would be going too far. And so I think that so first we got to keep in mind. So this is just to put into context, just this administration's relationship with Iran. As of right now, the United States has debilitating sanctions on Iran that make it very, very difficult for people in Iran to get access to medicine, certain foods. It makes it really, really difficult on the people. These sanctions have been going on for a long time. But since the coronavirus pandemic has started, the U.S. has increased these sanctions, and Iran was already being hit incredibly hard by this pandemic, and like this has just only made things worse for them. And we also have to keep in mind the Trump administration pulled out of the Iranian nuclear agreement. And basically, what that agreement said was that Iran wouldn't pursue getting a nuclear weapon. And on most accounts, to my understanding, all credible accounts, Iran was following that agreement. Even according to the United States State Department, Iran was following that agreement. Donald Trump still pulled out of said agreement. And I also believe that Iran was following the agreement even after the U.S. pulled out of it. I don't know if they're following it still, but for a good amount of time after, they were still following the agreement, even after the United States pulled out. And then also, we got to remember that this is coming off of the United States assassinating, I believe his name was Qasem Soleimani, one of the top generals for Iran. This was pretty out of nowhere. It came early January, and just it was Soleimani was in an Iraqi airport, and basically a drone strike took him out and several other top-ranking military individuals, and as well as a few civilians, if I'm not mistaken. And so, I think what can become pretty apparent with all of this in mind is that the United States is the aggressor in this situation. Because I mean, we have to look no further than what are United States Navy ships doing so close to Iran? And like just to kind of put it in perspective, like what would we be saying if Iranian Navy ships were like right off the coast of California, or if they were like right off the East Coast? Like what would we be thinking? Would we view that as aggressive? Obviously, we would view that as incredibly aggressive. What if those ships were right on our coast after Iran they had taken out one of our top military generals? If they had taken out a congressperson, what would we be thinking about that? Would we view that as an act of hostility from that country? If that country also had debilitating sanctions on us, I think that we would. It's pretty safe to say that we would view that as an act of aggression. And this is an issue that's really unfortunate because I think that we're in a bit of a tough spot because regardless of who wins the presidential election, whether it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden, I think that we likely will move towards some sort of severe military action with Iran. Just because, I mean, Joe Biden, as bad as Donald Trump is with regards to relationships with Iran, Joe Biden is not a whole lot better. Obviously, he was a part of the Obama administration, which did get the Iran deal kind of put together. But he has said that he would not lift the sanctions on Iran, and just overall he's more of a hawkish in his what he supports militarily. I mean, he voted for the Iraq War, obviously, and so Joe Biden is. I don't think that Joe Biden would be a lot better regarding this instance, but the Trump administration has been incredibly aggressive towards Iran. I mean, it's just the idea, and we have to remember when the United States puts these sanctions on Iran, like the goal is, oh, we're hurting the Iranian government, but like because we don't like what they're doing, but those sanctions hurt the people the most, the people at the bottom in Iran who have a hard time getting medicine, they have a hard time getting food. Those are the people who are hurt the hardest by these sanctions. To ratchet up said sanctions during a crisis, it's just cruel, in my opinion, and just to have this blatant aggression just with the United States Navy ships so close to Iranian waters, and just to be saying like, hey, if your guys' boats get close to us, because this isn't even an eye for an eye situation. This isn't like, oh, if you guys like attack one of our ships, we'll attack one of your ships. This is like an eye for like we'll like stab you in the chest, because like this is just if they harass our ships at sea. I mean, that's a very, very kind of generic phrasing. I don't know if the specific order that Donald Trump gave was more specific as to what qualifies as harassment. I mean, maybe there's a certain like distance that the ships could get from one another where that qualifies as harassment, but regardless, getting close to a ship is not attacking the ship, and so that is not meeting fire with fire. That is meeting, a little sizzle with fire. That it's just not equivalent. It would be an act of aggression if we were to shoot down one of the Iranian boats without any sort of like strike on their part. And also just to keep in mind, after the United States took out a major military official with Soleimani, Iran, like it, I would say justified, because like I don't support military action from either side, obviously, but a lot of people would have expected Iran to act on this attack, and instead Iran they did this like pretty sad little missile at like an unoccupied, I believe, military base by the U.S. In Iraq, and like I don't believe any United States soldiers were killed. I don't think anybody was killed, and it was really just kind of a way to like for the Iranian government to appear strong to its people. Like it didn't just let like the assassination of Soleimani go like unfettered, but like it really wasn't like killing Soleimani really could have been what escalated things to go a lot farther, and Iran chose not to escalate the situation. I don't know if they will exercise that restraint if the United States shoots down one of their gunboats. That'd be asking a lot, just because if we put this situation in reverse, if their ships were in our waters and then we got kind of close to them and then they shot one of our boats down, like we would view that as just like that'd be war. That would be war, honestly. Like if we're being honest, that would be war from the United States. And so I really think it's important to like, this stuff doesn't exist in a vacuum, and we have to remember the context of all of this stuff regarding foreign policy and just everything going on in the world. And so basically that's all I have to say on this. If you guys disagree with anything I said, please leave a comment down below. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day.